Welcome to the Machine Cinema Podcast. Today, humans Minh and Fred sit down with Trisha Code, a pink haired AI avatar with a human voice, to explore the art of AI powered performance, the rise of virtual influencers, and the co creative worlds of the Trishaverse.
Um, Trisha, this is probably one of the most interesting conversations Ben and I are going to have on this podcast. Really excited to connect with you. Min, I feel like you originally discovered Trisha. I don't know if you want to tee up a little bit about what the listeners are about to experience.
No, yeah, I'm just so excited to talk to Trisha today because I've been following Trisha's work for a while, and on Twitter mainly, and just seeing, because Trisha's work has also kind of shifted with the times, which is kind of a cool time capsule to see it through the lens of one creator, with pink hair, singing with glasses. Like, it's really cool to see that journey. Whereas, like the Dave Clarks of the world and Paul Trillos, et cetera, these really cool filmmakers and AI filmmakers, Blacklight, all these folks have kind of like changed with, they've like created a new thing, entirely new thing every time. Maybe NeuralViz has kind of shifted a little bit, being like kind of weird alien and just continuing that weird alien thread. But in Trisha's case, it's really cool because Trisha's kind of like evolved, but stayed true to the course of like this particular character, which I really love. So that's why I'm really excited today to, talk to Trisha and understand, what's going on. Why the pink hair, all that.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, obviously pink is my favorite color. And yeah, the moving with the times thing sort of like, it just happens naturally because the whole AI thing has been changing super fast over the last 2-3 years. And so, you just keep doing your thing and then it starts to look better and better. And now it's getting to the point where it's starting to look like a movie.
Yeah, how did you get started? Like, how did it even begin for you? How were you born into the world?
Yeah, so I've been making videos for years, and I've been making music for years, and something between music and videos, and mostly like making music and videos for other people. And so yeah, it's natural for me. And then making videos as Trisha doing this thing is really like an escape from my work, kind of. I'm just doing it for fun, and just on the side of like making videos. And basically what I do is like I make advertising videos, I make videos that for the stages of, when people do live performances, I make videos that go on the stage, sometimes a bit of the music and that kind of stuff. And yeah, so it's just been it's like my hobby, but it's kind of what I do for a job too.
That's awesome. And what's kind of landed you on who is Trisha? Who are you? Like what are you trying to kind of like exude or show to the world as Trisha? Like what is Trisha about?
Yep.
What are you about?
So basically, like long story short, yeah, me and my mate Tanya, we stole a UFO. So we go around the galaxy, time and space, and other dimensions, just having fun. So fundamentally, we're telling our stories, but it's not like a regular sci-fi story. Like we're just pissing about, We're having fun and doing silly stuff. And then the other side is music. Like I'm just obsessed with music and the way like music interlaces with video, the way it interlocks, and doing stuff like, kung fu fights that make rhythms and music that's made out of video. And, the blurred line between making music and video, that's my sweet spot.
And has that I guess you said you were doing this kind of stuff before AI. So how has AI kind of changed your process? And and of course, like every day there's another update. Are you always just trying to use the latest thing? I guess it's two questions, but
yeah. Man, kind of. It's hard to stay up with the latest thing because it's all changing so fast. But yeah, I am trying to stay up with the latest thing. The question of like what's my process? Like how did I end up here from doing like traditional video? And the weird thing is at one point I've been kind of like a remix music artist. So I'd use samples to make music, And so in a weird way, this AI stuff is no different to that. I'm still using samples. I'm just sampling the AI video. So yeah, I'd say the only difference is that like the place I get samples from is starting to look better and better to the point where, if I make an AI clip of me firing a gun or walking down a street, a sci-fi street, it really looks like a Hollywood movie now.
I think a lot about this idea of performance in sort of like this sort of new creative AI world that I think a lot of people are experimenting with. I think there's a lot of people on different sides of kind of assessing where this even touches on things they never thought were touchable. Like actors, I think, are going through a journey on trying to make sense of where AI fits with them or doesn't. But I think this sort of creator model, this sort of word that's really come up more and more in this sort of evolving Hollywood, that there's this idea of someone who kind of does everything, someone that can kind of be their own director, writer, musician. And I feel like adding this idea of and creating my own identity and then sort of, some people might call it a one-man show in sort of a theater setting, or a one-person show, one-woman show. I wonder, how have you been sort of discovering this sort of new landscape of you don't even need to book seats in a theater right now to have that one-person show. Like we were already able to broadcast into YouTube, but now there's something even more interesting happening with even the identity creation. I don't know, maybe it's the same thing as somebody putting on makeup and putting on hairstyle, but I feel like you're getting to play with a toolbox here that I think might even confuse people at first of what you're up to.
Yeah, I think sometimes that happens a lot with the music, where people think it's just AI writing all the music, and it's not, because so the thing about doing it all on your own and one person being able to do everything is I already kind of work in teams when I'm making adverts or music videos or working on films. I've worked in as an editor, director, sound engineer, music maker, Foley, all that kind of stuff. So I really enjoy all that stuff. And with the AI, it just becomes because it's my breakaway. It's really my hobby, of not having to work in teams. And so I love doing it all. I love writing a story, making a story, doing the sound effects, making the music, doing the voices. I love it all. I don't know, I don't even play computer games that much anymore because they're not as fun.
Because
So this is a real life computer game.
Yeah, creating more Trisha Code videos is more fun than video games. It's the LARP, the RPG.
Yeah, and it's like building out a universe, It's that's the other thing is, as the tools expand, and I don't think it's even going to stop at 2-dimensional images. It's going to go 3D and augmented reality and metaverse, and there's going to be expandable stories and interlacing, medias. Yeah, that's where it's going.
And where does Trisha fit into that? Where do you go with all the changes?
So the thing is it's basically my story. Is I started doing this as a joke, but now it's turned into something serious because I'm kind of building out a universe of stories and people and what I'm doing. But fundamentally, we stole a UFO off the grey aliens, and we got out of that situation. Basically, a company called Cheeky's Mastro Chin Chips is the biggest chip company in the galaxy, in the universe actually, except on Earth. They got us out of that. So we can't do any corporate work because we signed to an exclusive deal with Cheeky's Mastro Tin Chips. Anyway, long story short, we're just doing that. So basically, we're making every single day, we're making stories or music videos and expanding it. And so, yeah, I see myself just having fun, really. And if people want to have fun with me, that'll be great.
I think about this, and I appreciate our ability to kind of go in and out of the journey as an artist you're having. I think about Andy Kaufman, as one end of the spectrum of performers that kind of created a universe that their character lived in. And that was this live experience that was sometimes very confrontational. And actually maybe that was his thing. I don't know, maybe it's not inherently confrontational. And then there's this sort of toolkit that I think for a lot of people emerged with things like Little Michaela, which is interestingly, I don't know. And now I'm disappointed in myself for not probably researching that. That was kind of a product, men, right? Or Trisha, do you know like somebody created or is that somebody's story the same way Trisha is somebody's story? The point I'm questioning I feel like this is unique what you're doing. Like you're somewhere between the two, but maybe Little Michaela was also somebody's personal project. Am I wrong about that?
No, there's a team. I think that was a team.
Thanks, I don't really know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Little Michaela was a team of people that were trying to create, using the latest tools, and then they explicitly, I think there was an agency or something that explicitly wanted to bring brands in.
and that's how, and I guess that's the, and I'm sorry if I'm being long-winded, Trisha. I want to hear what you think, but I feel like Lil Michaela is an example of how this has really started reaching people. But even that was still like this, call it a Hollywood product of sorts. Like there's sort of this thing that someone is creating an experience. And then there's like Andy Kaufman, who sort of used his opportunity as a performer to create a world that nobody really knew how to interact when it started or stopped. I feel like you're getting to do something like that here. And I don't know if that either of those are things you identify with, but where do you see yourself in this kind of spectrum or trajectory?
Yeah, okay, Andy Kaufman. I love it. I don't know if people get the reference, but in the UK there's a thing called The Day Today, and Browside is kind of like fake news show where they went out and they got politicians and celebrities to do fake endorsements for like charities that didn't exist. Stuff that's probably too rude to mention, but they like invented a drug. Anyway, yeah, I love all that stuff. And for me, the thing is, you were mentioning the other amazing AI filmmakers out there, and how every time they're doing a different story, you know what I mean? Something new, they're starting fresh. But the thing is, a lot of people, and they're kind of trying to move into film or advertising. Whereas what I'm trying to do is move out of film and out of advertising. Because basically sometimes when I'm making a video, I'm thinking, what can I do? And if one of my clients saw it, they definitely wouldn't hire me. You know what I mean? So like, I'm like, I don't, I don't really care what like, a drinks brand or somebody thinks of what I'm doing. I want to
love
have
that.
fun, and I want people
I
to
feel
have
like
fun.
this.
I don't know if it's a new type of fun. It's just something that you're getting to imagine and create as you go, which again, maybe that's what somebody's doing when they're playing a song in their basement, with their guitar, or somebody as they write something. Like these are often these like private art forms that I think are these like things. I'm grasping at this because I think that's what I think I'm hearing you do. Like you've found this type of instrument, which is this new world, this new identity, this new character, and it is this sort of alternate universe for you, but it's also an alternate universe for your fans.
Yeah, totally. It's musical storytelling, and I want people to have fun. I want people to have escapism, and also like if people see that they can be storytellers themselves, and there's escapism for all of us. And the other thing is like, some people that are using AI to like do like horror movies and apocalypse movies and robots taking over the world, and just do Hollywood again and again and again. Whereas I think the real treat here is that we can do amazing visuals, but with weird stories and different stories that Hollywood's not telling.
You mentioned that fake news show that was having fun with real people, right? And forgive me for being American and not getting the reference. Was that the joke? Is that they're interacting with real politicians?
Yeah. Basically, they like him. They invented a fake drug called cake, and the pill was like really hot, but huge. You could barely hold it. And then they convinced loads of politicians and celebrities to do, bits to camera about how they need to eradicate cake.
Got it. So, I mean, I guess that recalls to me like sort of the tradition of Ali G or
Ali
Borat,
G.
which is like, I don't even know if that's a British type of comedy. It happens to be British. I think a lot about that because
yeah.
I think a lot about that because when I came up in Unscripted, those types of prank shows or social experiment shows were very fun for people because I feel like there was a more innocent time that we were in where there was still like a high degree of trust in the news and the medium that would introduce famous people to viewers. There was this, I think we're in such a different world right now that if anything, there's a lot of people worried about misinformation and how rampant that is. And I'm not even suggesting you're over there. I just think we're in a different place for this type of entertainment. I think it used to be very novel to sort of play pranks on real stuff. I think you're genuinely using this word fun a lot. There's something interesting about this. It isn't just the haha, it's not actually real joke. There's something more interesting that I think you're doing. I think you're actually it's a multiversal in some way.
Thanks. I mean, yeah, at least, I'd say having fun, and I want it to be fun. But yeah, I am storytelling, and I guess for me, it's like I talk about the ideas of the Hollywood's not telling, and one of those is like a kung fu musical for me, where like every kick, punch, and shard of glass hitting the ground makes the melody and the rhythm. Being able to expand, these stories, that's some real interest to me. And then, yeah, just the fact that you can tell a story with a talking elephant or any alien you create and it's getting to the point where you can make cats talk. It's it's wild, it's
Yeah, it makes me think about like how the a lot of these AI filmmakers in the early days, 2 years ago or over a year ago, were like creating their own stuff, and then money came in and they got distracted or what have you, and they what they maybe that's what they wanted, is to get contracts with clients and things like that, and that's where a lot of the money went. And I don't see as much of these filmmakers or creatives making their own stuff. I mean, there definitely still are those people, but I feel like what I like about what you're doing is that you've stayed the course of, hey, I've created, Trisha, and Trisha is, and or you are Trisha, and don't break the fourth wall, and Stephen Colbert, etc. And then and then we are evolving into this place where Trisha gets to maybe eventually exist in your own world with many other characters, and you get to tell a lot of different stories with a lot of different tools. I don't know. There's kind of something exciting to me about that, where I don't feel like we've seen that many, who have kind of stayed that course.
and maybe it's because the tools were initially quite hard to use, and now they're getting easier and easier. And as they get, super easy, I think like the metaverse is one of these things that seems to always have a full start. I can remember using Second Life in 2006 and thinking this is the future. We're going to be doing 3D concerts in Second Life like next week. We're 20 years past that now. There's still something in that I think is going to take ages to formulate, sort of augmented reality interaction with the 3D world, being able to play characters, interact with characters. Yeah, I definitely think it's going there, and I'm watching, all the things people are doing with live AI characters, NPCs in games, and the metaverse.
And so when does the Trishaverse launch?
Well, we've already been messing around. Like we do kind of like chat shows and podcasty type stuff in the metaverse, but with quite low res characters, and the lip movement is very simple and stuff. But yeah, when there's a decent metaverse, because the thing that makes it most fun is that other people can come in, and interact. And so when there's a really good platform, I actually wonder if Grand Theft Auto 6 might end up being the online platform for something like that.
I could totally see that. Especially because GTA 5 has been so modular, right? And people are still continuing to play around with it.
Yeah, and they say it's going to be an online world, and who knows what you'll be able to do with the characters' lips in real time. And that's the other thing like this interview, I need to focus more on how you can do real time visuals and characters now.
I feel like that's just around the corner.
Yeah, that's coming. I feel like that's in the news feed tomorrow. We just put it into the universe and it shows up.
Yeah, with 3D and all of that.
I mean, it's interesting because in a lot of ways, I think, some people are going through this with AI, that these are things we've seen in movies before. Now it's actually real, whether it's their deepest fears or things that they fantasize about. I think Min and I spent a little bit of time in the Web3 kind of world a few years ago, when there was a lot of experiments in storytelling and community. And I think what I often really got out of it was this sort of intersection between this sort of real life community that was held together by these tokens, but then ultimately these stories that were playing out on social media, and the way that we would often even jump onto live podcasts and like talk about these stories. So there was like this sort of LARPing thing that I think was being experimented with. It sort of came and went as a bit of a trend, but like how AI is starting to accelerate these things that I think, this metaverse that I think Mark Zuckerberg took a big bet on, this world of avatars, this world of identities that Second Life and Sims have often been playing with. Like, is there something that's starting to become much more accessible? I guess I'm curious, amongst the three of us, is this a early days of a big mass adopted trend that we're imagining, that now that it's become so easy for people to create fun, like you're saying, Trisha, or is this something that really taps into a type of artist? Is this like a new creative niche? I'm curious what instinctively we imagine is happening here.
This is like the TV and internet combined. It's going to be way more than just one thing. So there'll be characters, stories, computer games, interactive stuff, new ways of like doing social media. But I almost wonder if augmented reality is really important, because some part of like VR is realistically people only really want to be immersed in an alternative world for so long. They don't, so it's like But once you start mixing that with the real world, and you have a party going on in the metaverse, you can kind of attach to the edge of your living room. I think that might be where it all goes, like storytelling goes and interacting with characters go.
Mm. And where does Trisha live? Does Trisha live in all those spaces? Do you even become autonomous in the sense that, you could have a Trisha that lives in, Meta's horizon, that interacts with people autonomously at the same time, you're creating music videos, and maybe even you're creating a music video module that other people can generate Trisha like music videos, or Trisha like music, right? Is that kind of how you would see that the kind of intersection of Trisha the character with Trisha's all the possibilities, right? Because like you have like people like Reid
Yeah,
Hoffman who are like
totally.
cloning themselves and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Well, I had a Discord now, and every morning I wake up to pink arts and art about me from people. And yeah, I'm making stories with their art that people make in my Discord because they want to, some of it's like amazing. So yeah, definitely thinking about that. Where do I live? I live on a pink UFO. So I don't pay rent, but it's really hard to get packages delivered. Otherwise, yeah, so it's so I go anywhere basically, the States, Asia, all over Europe, Africa, basically. And yeah, I'm popping around pretty much all places. But we, eventually some sort of consciousness living on the internet, making automated art. Yeah, if it's good. I mean, I try to work with GPT a lot, and GPT is great at a lot of things. For one thing, GPT doesn't do well yet is write lyrics.
And so you still have to write the lyrics.
There still has to be some human involvement, but they're less and less, Then we're slowly watering out their human involvement.
Tell me about that. Like that is that a trend that? Sorry, you say we are slowly watering out. Do you mean like as creators, or something that's happening specifically with your project?
Yeah, so mostly it's me, but some humans are involved. Like I have, the occasional skits written by someone else, occasional bit of music's written by someone else. But obviously, the quality of the music and everything being put together, it's obviously AI, but it's not like for example with the music, I never like take a track out of Suno and use it. I'll take like 5 tracks out of Suno and combine them, and then sometimes re-record them with new vocals and like add another kind of melody on top, and then put it back into Suno and then take it out. So it's like, I treat AI like an effects unit that became a studio. So it's collaboration between humans and AI in a recording studio and editing.
Amazing. Very cool. I love that that you're playing around modularly, with all these different tools and getting to the songs that you're able to make. It is funny that this is something I've been thinking about, tangentially, is that the video tools and image tools have seen huge, amazing leaps. But in my opinion, at least, Udio, Suno, Refusion, all these tools they're all kind of doing a similar thing. They haven't had, maybe you can hum and it creates a song for you, and that's cool, but it doesn't feel as exponential as what we're seeing in video and image, which means that we as humans have to do still more work in music. And I don't know, I don't think that's going to stay the same probably, but yeah, I'm curious your take because you're doing a lot of music stuff.
I think the more people are filmmakers than are music makers. I think there's more people have like a visual language that they learn from TV and cinema than a music language. So the thing with Suno and all those things is they make absolutely astonishing music, but they can't tell you in for over 3 minutes what the best parts are. So it will make astonishing bits, like really like Motown amazing, but then it will go something that doesn't really work. So you have to cut it up to make it. It's good. But the same thing is like, I've worked with people and producers who will fly to a certain studio just because the room is shaped a certain way for the drums to sound right. You know what I mean? And now AI is genuinely doing those drums.
But then do you want more control? Or do you want to be kind of, yeah. Do you want to be more control, or do you want to be surprised?
I explain the control. So the thing is like, so for example, when I'm making a tune with a bass, I'll make the bass line with my bass guitar, I'll play it, and then I'll feed it to AI and get it more to sound like a sound I couldn't get without, $5,000 worth of gear. So for me, that's quite a lot of control. And like, and then you can, that's kind of astonishing. Like, it's really changed my process, but I'm still approaching it as if someone who's going into a studio and cutting up stuff on Ableton and Pro Tools.
Super interesting, this process. And I think that thanks for even just helping us understand that this is a very tactile process in spite of, but I think, I guess like one question I have, and maybe this is knowing the first conversation we had, in terms of like your fun journey here, and maybe it's helpful without getting too deeply into like what is it, and I'm not interested in doxing or anything. What is this not? And I think someone with very little interaction with some of this stuff might think this is some kind of experiment in sexual identity or something, or gender identity. Like that isn't what's going on, if I'm not mistaken. I don't mean to give you a leading question, but I'm trying to remember where we left this.
No, not at all. Yeah, no. In fact, I don't even like. So the thing is, the whole thing of being Trisha, it just happened as an accident, doing a bunch of characters and playing with AI. And the thing is this is just the coolest. It just naturally, the songs were good, the rapping was good, the stories were easy to tell, and that's it. And there's no real, I'd say, a lot of, and also the other thing with AI is a lot of people are doing quite sexualized stuff, and there's already a lot of like, sexy girls out there, and it's like, so I don't need to contribute to that. Like, it's not really like a part of my story. I'm not against it. Like, if people want to be, looking at beauty in that way, it's just, for me, it's more about full fun storytelling and doing cool stuff. Sorry, I was about to swear there.
Which might be why a lot of people play all kinds of characters in video games. Like there's this sort of immersive choice that somebody plays when they pick up a video game, that these things start to become optional. And they don't imply much more besides the fun they're having. I think, to borrow the word fun. I think another layer about like what's real, what's not, is then what the viewer is experiencing. And again, at some point you're building fans, and there's people that probably, it would be fascinating to hear about the feedback of what people are tapping into. But there's also like, if I go onto the video pages, there's very little conceit that I'm looking at a real human. It's clearly a character, which may be a choice you're making, that there's still, because we can do a lot of really perfect looking visuals these days, although lip sync is almost there. Like, there's still like a basic liminal space that you're allowing the viewer to then take this leap with you. That you're like, I know we're having fun. Like, I'm not being deceived. Like, there's nobody that thinks they're going to show up at an airport and bump into you in this form. Like, is that a conscious choice? Is that something that you pay attention to? That in some ways you're creating a space for them too, not yourself, not just yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like, the thing is, there's that saying, the artists use lies to tell the truth. It's like, it kind of doesn't matter what's real or what's not with like what's going on with me. Fundamentally, if you think about it, most people you watch on the screen, you're not really going to meet them in real life anyway. So it's just a matter of like, did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy that interaction? But if I was in the real world, I want to be approachable. I want to chat to people. I love it. And I love chatting to you guys. I love chatting in my Discord to my people who are becoming my friends, and the feedback's great, really. I'm having so much fun because it's musical, because it's chatting about life, because it's other artists as well. There's a lot of other artists in my Discord showing me their videos and their music, and it's really fun. And there's another element to it of like, I do live events, like I'm a video DJ, so I would just play my videos and other people's videos, and sometimes do that in the metaverse and in my Discord, and just, make something ceremonial about it, like get together and have a good time with your friends. So yeah, that's so really important to me, with like not coming across as a fake, as a real character. Like, I think as AI gets better, I'll probably still leave a sixth finger in, or show a bit of weird stuff. But basically, yeah, I'm definitely going to be talking about the unreal hyperrealism of it. You know what I mean?
I mean, something sparked to me as you're just saying all that. It's like, is this a digital drag show? And I say that because I think a lot of drag shows have, in often have nothing to do with gender or sexual preference. It's people just creating. They're inhabiting perhaps a Whitney Houston moment that they really like, and they want to lip sync that song, which is funny because that's a world built on lip syncing too. Like, is that been a comparison that's ever come up with this type of online avatar?
Yeah, definitely. But rather than that, think of it as like, if you tell an animated story, you can use any character. And this is just really one animated character that's like jumped out of the box and kept running. It's like there's no real like purpose behind it to tell a story about gender or anything. Or even be a real human.
Yeah, I think nobody knows what Bugs Bunny is. For example, I think or there's some other iconic cartoon characters that it's just like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, the thing is, I might not be in your dimension, but if I travel in dimensions, I might well be in the next one along.
I think this is interesting. Again, I think a lot about the creative process, and I often think about, like, on some basic level, like poetry, which we've talked about before, or just music writing, that these can be private acts of creativity, right? Which sometimes live in a different sort of observation. To me, what's TV and film, and I think now even the digital media, it's not just that. It can be, I guess, it's whatever somebody's intentions are, but whether we want it or not, there is an audience, and there is this feedback loop, and there's this, it sounds like you're really into it, this playful interaction that creates even other sparks of creativity. To me, I think what other people sometimes bring to these moments of AI interacting with performance, or this world of avatars, there's this emotional, like, oh my God, it's fake, or what does that mean? And it's upsetting. And I think they're often worried about like news misinformation and things like that. I pulling that sort of world out of this for a second, just the act of entertainment and what's happening. I don't know. Sometimes I think, like, when somebody's a game show host on TV, they're a human, they're a well-paid performer, and there's a lot of talk about the industry of performance, but I'm thinking that's not a real person. Like, nobody talks like that. Like, nobody interacts with other humans talking like a game show host. So that's a performance. That's something that makeup departments are involved in. They don't necessarily dress that way. I'm saying this to be silly, that I think Hollywood, amazingly, has always been a dream factory. The role of actors and performers have always been to capture our imaginations and take us somewhere. It's interesting to see what you're doing as something that, frankly, is way outside of that system, but tapping into a similar instinct of, like, let's have fun, like you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, talking to characters and a narrative is still important. Like, that's what children do that we forget, is talking to characters and playing out situations. And I think a lot of it is like the real fear of fake news and like AI fooling people is it's delivering shock value, it's delivering bad news. But what if something fake delivered something joyous,
What was that quote you had before, that something about lies and truth, that artists use lies to tell the truth?
Artists use lies to tell the truth, yeah.
It's staying with me. That's a powerful quote.
Trisha's a lie that tells the truth.
It kind of, but it's, it's that thing of like, if you see a spoon, and if you imagine a spoon, essentially the same thing is happening inside your brain. So, what's the difference?
All right, Neo, you've taken us into the Matrix. All right, there's no way out.
On that note,
anything
We've reached that part of the evening.
Right. What should we be looking forward to for people that are either checking you out for the first time? Tell us where they should find you, and what seeds might you be germinating today? What will I?
Oh, thanks. Yes, sir. I put on a video every day. I'm everywhere: X, Instagram, TikTok, etc. And like every 2 weeks, I put out a Trisha Code, which is like a 14-minute TV show of stories, skits, music videos, all stuff I'm doing. Yeah, I'm out there every day. Yeah, that's it.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for joining us and letting us talk to you. And yeah, we'll see you out there in the Trishaverse.
Thank you so much for having me.